Commander Zara Veltar stood before the massive screen in the Alliance war room. Her blue skin was marked with scars from 73 years of fighting. The other commanders sat around the curved table, their different alien faces all showing the same thing: exhaustion. "We are losing this war," Zara said to the room. Her voice was calm, but everyone could hear the pain in it. "The Vorthak Empire grows stronger every day. We grow weaker." The holographic display showed the galaxy split in half. One side glowed blue for the Alliance. The other side glowed red for the Vorthak Empire. The red was bigger now than it had been last year. Admiral Thys, an old warrior with 6 arms, hit the table with one of his fists. 73 years, he said. 73 years of war. Billions of our people are dead. Entire planets are empty now. How much more can we lose? High Counselor Mordak, the leader of the Alliance, raised his hand for quiet. His people looked like tall, thin humans but with silver skin and large black eyes. "That is why we are here today," he said. "We must make a choice that no one wants to make." The room went silent. Everyone knew what he meant. "We found a new species," Mordak continued. "They call themselves humans. Their planet is called Earth. It sits on the edge of known space." A new hologram appeared. It showed a blue and green planet with one moon. Then it showed pictures of the creatures that lived there. They looked almost like Mordak's people, but with different colored skin and smaller eyes. "They are primitive," said Intelligence Officer Crix. His bug-like face clicked as he talked. "They still burn chemicals to fly between their own planet and moon. They barely understand nuclear power. Their technology is hundreds of years behind ours." "Then why are we talking about them?" asked Admiral Thys. Mordak touched a control, and new numbers appeared on the screen. 8 billion of them live on that one planet. 8 billion soldiers we could use. "You want to send them to die," Admiral Thys said. His voice was angry now. "These primitive creatures will be slaughtered in hours against Vorthak weapons." "Perhaps," Mordak said. "But even if they only distract the Vorthak for a short time, it might give us the chance we need. Every day we wait, we get weaker. Every day the Vorthak gets stronger." Commander Zara looked at the pictures of these humans. They seemed so small and weak compared to the other species in the room. "Have we contacted them yet?" "Yes," Crix said. "Our first contact team met with their leaders 3 months ago. They are interesting. They ask many questions. They want to know everything about the war, about us, about the Vorthak." "And what did they say?" Zara asked. "They said they need time to think. But yesterday we received a message. They agree to send a small group to meet with us." Admiral Thys shook his head. "This is wrong. We are asking children to fight monsters. We are asking for help," Mordak said firmly. "If we lose this war, everyone dies. The Vorthak do not take prisoners. They do not make peace. They only destroy." The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Everyone knew this was true. The Vorthak Empire had never shown mercy to anyone. Every planet they conquered was stripped of all life. Every species they defeated was wiped out completely. "When do these humans arrive?" Zara asked. "Today," Crix said. "Their ship should dock within the hour." An hour later, Zara stood in the docking bay with the other commanders. The human ship was small and ugly compared to Alliance vessels. It looked like it was built from spare parts. Black smoke came from some of its engines. "Are we sure this thing can even fly?" Admiral Thys asked. The ship's door opened with a loud grinding sound. 3 humans walked out. The first was a woman with short gray hair and the bearing of a soldier. She wore a simple blue uniform with metal marks on her chest. The second was a man with dark skin and kind eyes who carried a large bag of equipment. The third was a younger woman with red hair who looked around the docking bay like she had never seen anything so amazing. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen," the gray-haired woman said. Her voice was strong and clear. "This is Dr. Marcus Webb, our chief scientist, and Captain Rosa Torres, our military observer." Zara stepped forward. "I am Commander Zara Veltar. Welcome to Alliance Fleet Command. Admiral Chen nodded politely, but her eyes were already studying everything around her. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. We know this situation is desperate for all of you. You understand the danger, Zara said. The Vorthak Empire is powerful. They have weapons that can destroy entire cities in seconds. They have ships that are faster and stronger than anything we have. If Dr. Webb opened his bag and pulled out a small device. May we record this conversation? We want to make sure we understand everything correctly. Admiral Thiss laughed, but it was not a happy sound. What is there to understand? You fight, you probably die. If you are lucky, you slow them down a little before you die. Captain Torres spoke for the first time. How long have you been fighting this war? 73 years, Zara said. And how much progress have you made? Dr. Webb asked. The Alliance commanders looked at each other. No one wanted to answer. Very little, Mordak finally said. Admiral Chen smiled, but it was a cold smile. Dr. Webb, Captain Torres, what do you think? Dr. Webb closed his bag. I think we need to see everything. All your intelligence files. All your battle records. Everything you know about the enemy. And then? Zara asked. And then, Admiral Chen said, we will show you how humans fight wars. As the humans were led deeper into the Alliance ship, none of the aliens noticed the strange gleam in their eyes. None of them saw the way the humans looked at each other and nodded slightly. None of them understood that these primitive creatures had been fighting wars among themselves for thousands of years. The Alliance thought they were asking for help from children. They had no idea they were talking to the most dangerous species in the galaxy. 3 weeks had passed since the humans arrived at Alliance Fleet Command. Dr. Webb spent every day in the intelligence archives, reading files that most Alliance officers had never seen. Admiral Chen attended War Council meetings, asking questions that made the alien commanders uncomfortable. Captain Torres trained with Alliance soldiers, but her methods confused everyone. Commander Zara found Dr. Webb in Archive Room 7, surrounded by holographic displays showing Vorthak data. The human was reading everything. Military reports, intercepted communications, even old trade records from before the war started. Dr. Webb, Zara said, I wanted to check on your progress. The human looked up from a display showing Vorthak ship designs. Commander Veltar, thank you for coming. I have some questions. About their weapons, their tactics? No, Dr. Webb said. About their families, Zara's blue face wrinkled in confusion. Their families? Yes. How do Vorthak raise their children? What do they teach them? What stories do they tell before sleep? I do not understand why this matters. Dr. Webb turned to face her completely. Commander, you have been fighting the Vorthak for 73 years. In all that time, have you ever wondered what they are afraid of? They fear nothing, Zara said quickly. The Vorthak are fearless warriors. That is why they are so dangerous. Everyone is afraid of something. Dr. Webb said gently. Even the bravest warrior has nightmares. Even the strongest leader has doubts. You just need to know where to look. Across the ship, Captain Torres was in Training Bay 5 with a squad of Alliance soldiers. They were practicing battle formations that had been used for decades. Each soldier knew exactly where to stand, exactly when to move, exactly what to do in every situation. Stop, Torres said, raising her hand. The Alliance soldiers froze in place. Lieutenant Vex, their squad leader, looked confused. Did we make an error, Captain Torres? No error, Torres said. But tell me, what happens if the enemy does something you don't expect? We follow Protocol 7, Vex said proudly. And if Protocol 7 doesn't work? Vex looked uncertain. We follow Protocol 8? Torres shook her head. What if there is no protocol for what the enemy does? What if they do something completely new? The Alliance soldiers looked at each other nervously. In 73 years of war, they had never been trained to handle situations without protocols. Watch, Torres said. She picked up a training weapon and pointed it at the squad. I am the enemy. Stop me. The soldiers immediately moved into their standard defensive formation. Taurus smiled and did something none of them expected. She dropped her weapon and started singing loudly. The soldiers stood there, not knowing what to do. Their protocols had no instructions for singing enemies. This is why you are losing the war, Torres said sadly. Meanwhile, in the main conference room, Admiral Chen was meeting with the Alliance War Council. High Counselor Mordak had called the meeting to discuss human integration into their forces. Admiral Chen, Mordak said, we appreciate your team's dedication to learning our methods. However, some of your requests are unusual. Which requests? Chen asked. Intelligence, Officer Crix spoke up. Yesterday, Dr. Webb asked for access to Vorthak entertainment records. Entertainment, Admiral Chen. He wants to know what they watch for fun. And, Chen said, it is not military intelligence, Crix said, his bug-like face clicking with irritation. It is useless information. Quote, Admiral Chen leaned back in her chair. Officer Crix, in your 73 years of fighting, have you ever asked yourself why the Vorthak fight so hard? What drives them? What keeps them going when the battle is difficult? They fight because they are bred for war, Admiral Thys said. They are natural killers. No species is born for war, Chen said firmly. They choose war. Something in their culture, their beliefs, their stories makes them think war is right. Find out what that something is, and you can change their minds. The room went quiet. None of the Alliance leaders had ever thought about changing Vorthak minds. They only thought about destroying Vorthak bodies. Impossible, Mordak said finally. The Vorthak cannot be reasoned with. They understand only force. Every species can be reasoned with, Chen said. You just need to speak their language. Not their words, their fears, their hopes, their dreams. Dr. Webb appeared at the conference room door. Admiral, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I found something interesting. Show us, Chen said. Dr. Webb activated a holographic display. It showed what looked like a Vorthak religious ceremony. Tall, gray-skinned creatures in elaborate robes were chanting around a fire. This is from a data file captured 15 years ago, Dr. Webb explained. It shows Vorthak performing what your translators called victory rituals. But I think they got it wrong. Wrong how? Commander Zara asked. These aren't victory rituals, Dr. Webb said. These are fear rituals. Look at the symbols they use. The way they move, the words they chant. They aren't celebrating success. They are trying to prevent failure. The Alliance commanders stared at the display. They had seen this footage many times, but had never thought about what it really meant. The Vorthak are terrified, Dr. Webb continued. Not of death. They prove every day they don't fear dying. They are terrified of something else. Something they think is worse than death. What? Zara asked. I don't know yet, Dr. Webb said, but I'm going to find out. Admiral Chen stood up from the table. High Counselor Mordak, I need to make a request. Yes. I want complete access to all captured Vorthak technology, all prisoner interrogation records, and all cultural artifacts you have collected. Everything. That is highly classified information, Crix protested. And I want operational independence for human forces, Chen continued. We will coordinate with Alliance Command. But we need to be able to act without waiting for approval. Absolutely not, Admiral Thys said, hitting the table with 2 of his 6 arms. You are untested in real combat. You could get everyone killed. Chen smiled the same cold smile she had shown when they first met. Admiral, with respect, your current methods are already getting everyone killed. In 73 years, how much territory have you gained? No one answered. How many Vorthak worlds have you conquered? Still no answer. How many times have you made them retreat without fighting? The silence stretched on. Give us 6 months, Chen said. 6 months of operational independence, complete intelligence access, and the freedom to engage the enemy our way. And if you fail? Mordak asked. If we fail, you will be no worse off than you are now. But if we succeed... Chen paused. looking around the room at all the tired alien faces. If we succeed, this war ends. Dr. Webb closed his holographic display. The Vorthak are afraid of something, and we're going to find out what it is. Then we're going to become that something. High Counselor Mordak looked around the room at his fellow commanders. After a long moment, he nodded slowly. 6 months, Admiral Chen. Show us how humans fight wars. 2 months into their 6-month deadline, the humans had turned 3 entire sections of Alliance Fleet Command into something no one recognized. Dr. Webb's research team worked day and night in rooms filled with Vorthak cultural artifacts, ancient texts, and captured recordings. Admiral Chen's tactical team studied battle reports not for military strategy, but for patterns of behavior. Captain Torres trained with volunteers from every Alliance species, teaching them methods that looked more like theater practice than combat preparation. Commander Zara visited Dr. Webb's research center on a Tuesday morning and found organized chaos. Holographic displays showed Vorthak family trees, religious symbols, and what looked like children's stories. Humans worked alongside Alliance translators and cultural experts, but they were asking questions no one had thought to ask before. Dr. Webb, Zara said, "What exactly are you doing here?" Dr. Webb looked up from a display showing Vorthak burial rituals. His hair was messy, and his eyes were red from lack of sleep. But he was smiling. "Commander Veltar, we're building a profile, not of their military, of their souls." Their souls? What they believe, what they fear, what they value most, Dr. Webb explained. He gestured to a wall covered in symbols. For example, did you know the Vorthak believe in something called the Chain of Honor? Zara shook her head. Every Vorthak thinks their actions affect not just them, but their children, their grandchildren, and their great-grandchildren. If a Vorthak brings dishonor to their family name, that shame follows their bloodline for 7 generations. How does this help us fight them? Dr. Webb's smile grew wider. What if we could make them believe that fighting us would bring dishonor to their families? In another section of the ship, human engineer Maria Santos worked with Alliance technology specialists, but they weren't building better weapons or faster ships. Instead, they were modifying communication equipment, holographic projectors, and what the Alliance called morale systems, technology they rarely used anymore. "Explain to me again why you need our psychological warfare equipment," said Chief Engineer Nax, a short alien with 4 eyes and green skin. "We're going to broadcast messages," Santos said simply. "What kind of messages?" Santos connected a human device to an Alliance holographic projector. A 3-dimensional image appeared. It looked like a Vorthak elder, but something was wrong with it. The image moved in ways that made everyone watching feel uncomfortable. "We're going to make them see things," Santos said. "Things that will scare them more than our weapons ever could." Nax backed away from the hologram. "That is disturbing. How did you create that image?" "We studied their burial recordings, their religious ceremonies, their ancestor worship traditions. Then we built something that looks like they're honored dead, but wrong enough to make them afraid." "This is not honorable combat," Nax said. "War is not honorable," Santos replied. "War is about winning." Across the ship, Captain Torres was running a training exercise with a mixed group of Alliance soldiers and humans. But instead of practicing shooting or formation flying, they were practicing acting. "Remember," Torres called out to the group, "you're not playing soldiers. You're playing ghosts. Move like you're not quite real. Talk like you know secrets that the living shouldn't know." Lieutenant Vex, the Alliance soldier who had trained with Torres before, raised his hand. "Captain Torres, I still don't understand how this helps us fight." "Vex," Torres said, "what's the worst thing that could happen to you in battle?" "Death," Vex said immediately. "No," Torres said. "Death ends suffering." "What if something worse could happen?" "Trusting mated." Vex thought for a moment. "Dishonor?" "Exactly. Now, what if the enemy could make you dishonored just by looking at you? What if they could speak with the voices of your dead ancestors and tell you that you have already failed? Would you still want to fight them?" Vex's face went pale. He was beginning to understand. Meanwhile, Admiral Chen worked with her own team in what used to be a storage room. They had filled it with Alliance intelligence reports, but they weren't reading them for battle strategies. They were looking for personal details about Vorthak commanders. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Park, one of Chen's tactical officers, "I found something interesting about Admiral Krex, the Vorthak commander in Sector 7. Tell me." "He lost his first son in a battle 20 years ago. According to intercepted messages, he still mourns the boy. He visits the battle site every year on the anniversary." Chen nodded and made a note. "Good. What else?" "Commander Zul in Sector 12 has a fear of deep water. It shows up in several psychological profiles from captured prisoners." "Excellent. Keep digging. I want to know the personal history, fears, and weaknesses of every major Vorthak leader." "Admiral," Lieutenant Park said carefully, "what are we going to do with this information?" Chen looked up from her notes. "We're going to make them believe we know everything about them. Their secrets, their fears, their failures. We're going to make them think we can see into their very souls." That afternoon, Dr. Webb called a meeting of all the human team leaders. They gathered in Conference Room 3, which they had converted into their planning center. The walls were covered with diagrams, cultural charts, and what looked like a very strange battle plan. "Status report," Dr. Webb said. "Maria, how are the technical modifications?" "Almost ready," Engineer Santos said. "We can now project holographic images up to 50 kilometers from our ships. We can broadcast on all Vorthak frequencies simultaneously, and we can make our broadcasts look like they're coming from Vorthak sources." "Torres, how's the training?" "Good," Captain Torres said. "The Alliance volunteers are finally understanding. It's not about being better actors. It's about becoming something that shouldn't exist." "Chen, intelligence gathering?" Admiral Chen smiled. "We now have detailed psychological profiles on 43 major Vorthak commanders and over 200 minor officers. We know their fears, their family histories, and their personal failures." Dr. Webb nodded. "Then it's time to put it all together. Maria, I need you to create specific broadcasts for each target. Use their personal information to make messages that will terrify them on a deep, cultural level." "What kind of messages?" Santos asked. "Messages from their dead relatives, warnings from their ancestors, prophecies that predict their personal doom." "Doctor." Webb turned to the wall display, which showed a map of Vorthak space. "The Vorthak believe the dead can speak to the living. They believe dishonor follows families for generations. They believe certain symbols and colors can curse their souls." He pointed to the map. "We're going to use all of that against them." "When do we begin?" Admiral Chen asked. 2 weeks, Dr. Webb said. 2 weeks to finalize everything. Then, we go to war. "And if this doesn't work?" Torres asked. Dr. Webb looked around the room at his team. "Then, we try something else. But it will work. Humans have been scaring each other with ghost stories and nightmares since before we learned to make fire. We know fear better than any species in the galaxy." The next day, Commander Zara found Admiral Chen in the ship's observation deck, looking out at the stars where the war was still being fought. "Admiral Chen," Zara said, "my people are nervous about your plan." "I understand," Chen said without turning around. "We have been fighting this war with honor for 73 years. Your methods seem wrong." Chen finally turned to face her. "Commander, how many of your people have died in these 73 years?" "Billions," Zara said quietly. "And how many humans have died in this war?" "None," Zara admitted. "That's the difference," Chen said. "You fight with honor. We fight to win. In 2 weeks, you'll see which method ends wars." The human war began at exactly 0800 hours on a Monday morning. But it didn't look like any war the Alliance had ever seen. No massive fleets charged toward enemy lines. No weapons fired across space. Instead, 12 small human ships appeared at the edge of the Proxima Vorthak system and began broadcasting. Commander Zara watched from the Alliance command ship as the humans started their attack. On the main screen, she could see the Vorthak defense fleet. 37 warships ready for battle. But something strange was happening. "What are the humans transmitting?" she asked Intelligence Officer Crix. Crix's bug-like face clicked nervously as he worked at his console. It's a funeral song. In perfect Vorthak ceremonial language. Whose funeral? Admiral Crix said, his voice confused. They're singing about Admiral Crix's death. But Admiral Crix commands the Vorthak fleet in that system. He's not dead. On the screen, the Vorthak ships had stopped their approach toward the human vessels. Their formation was breaking apart. They're receiving messages from the Vorthak fleet, Crix reported. Admiral Crix is demanding to know how the humans learned the death songs of his family. He's asking how they know the names of his ancestors. Admiral Chen stood beside Commander Zara, watching the screen calmly. Dr. Webb found those names in captured family records from 20 years ago. We learned the pronunciation from cultural databases. Admiral Crix thinks we're speaking with the voices of his honored dead, but that's impossible, Zara said. Of course it's impossible, Chen replied. But Admiral Crix doesn't know that. The first human ship, commanded by Captain Torres, moved closer to the Vorthak fleet. As it approached, massive holographic images appeared in space around it. The images showed Vorthak ancestors. Tall, gray figures in traditional robes. But their faces were wrong. Their eyes were too dark, their movements too slow, their expressions too sad. By the void, Crix whispered. The Vorthak ships are retreating. All of them? Zara asked. All of them. Admiral Crix just ordered his entire fleet to withdraw to the next system. He says the humans have awakened something that should have stayed sleeping. Admiral Chen smiled. One system down, 47 to go. The next day brought even more impossible news. Human ships had appeared in 3 more Vorthak systems. And each time the same thing happened. The Vorthak fleets withdrew without fighting. Dr. Webb joined the command staff for the morning briefing. He looked tired but excited. The broadcasts are working better than we hoped. Intercepted Vorthak communications show widespread panic among their commanders. What exactly are you telling them? Commander Zara asked. Different things for different people, Dr. Webb explained. He activated a holographic display that showed recorded messages. For Admiral Crix, we broadcast messages from his dead son, telling him he has failed to honor his family. For Commander Zul, we show images of dark water and tell him his ancestors are drowning in shame because of his actions. You're torturing them, Admiral Thys said. His 6 arms were crossed in disapproval. We're ending a war, Dr. Webb said simply. Would you prefer we kill them instead? The reports kept coming throughout the week. Human psychological warfare was spreading through Vorthak space like a virus. Entire fleets were abandoning their positions. Some Vorthak commanders had stopped responding to orders from their high command. Engineer Santos provided technical updates during each briefing. We're now able to broadcast to individual ships within enemy fleets. Yesterday, we sent personalized messages to each ship captain in the Kepler system, told them their specific family names had been cursed by ancient spirits. And, Admiral Chen asked, 15 ships surrendered immediately. The rest fled toward the Galactic Rim. Commander Zara studied the tactical displays with growing amazement. Human forces were advancing through Vorthak space faster than any Alliance army had ever moved. But they weren't conquering through battle. They were conquering through fear. I don't understand, she said to Admiral Chen. How do you know so much about their personal lives? How do you know their family names, their fears, their secrets? We've been listening, Chen said. For 73 years, you captured Vorthak prisoners, you intercepted their communications, you gathered their cultural artifacts, but you only used that information to plan military strikes. What did you use it for? To understand who they are. Every intercepted message about a commander missing, his family became part of our psychological profile. Every captured artifact taught us about their beliefs and fears. Every prisoner interrogation gave us details about their culture. Dr. Webb added, the Alliance had all the information we needed. You just didn't know how to use it. By the end of the 2nd week, something unprecedented happened in the history of the Vorthak War. An entire Vorthak battle group, 43 ships, surrendered without firing a shot. The surrender came after Captain Torres broadcast what appeared to be a message from the Vorthak Emperor's own grandfather. The message spoke in ancient ceremonial language that hadn't been used in over a century. It told the battle group commanders that they had been chosen to carry a curse that would follow their families for 1,000 generations, unless they stopped fighting immediately. "How did you learn that ancient language?" Crix asked Dr. Webb during the emergency briefing. "We found fragments of it in old ceremonial recordings," Dr. Webb said. "Our linguists worked for weeks to reconstruct the grammar and pronunciation. Then we had our computers generate new speeches using the old patterns. The Vorthak think their ancient dead are speaking to them," Admiral Chen said. "From their perspective, beings with impossible knowledge are telling them to stop fighting or face eternal damnation for their bloodlines." High Counselor Mordak looked at the strategic map with wonder. In 3 weeks, human forces had advanced further into Vorthak space than Alliance armies had advanced in 3 decades. "How many Vorthak have you killed?" he asked. "None," Admiral Chen said. "We haven't fired a weapon yet." "And how many systems have you taken?" 17, Captain Torres reported, "with more surrendering every day." Admiral Thys shook his head in disbelief. "This is not warfare. This is madness. This is psychology." Dr. Webb corrected. "The Vorthak are a warrior culture. But they're also a spiritual culture. They believe in honor, in family legacy, in the power of their ancestors. We're using those beliefs as weapons." The most dramatic breakthrough came in the 4th week. Human ships appeared at the edge of the Vorthak home system and began broadcasting on all frequencies simultaneously. The message was simple but terrifying to Vorthak ears. It was the voice of their emperor's father, dead for 50 years, speaking in perfect ceremonial dialect. The voice said that humans had been chosen by all the dishonored Vorthak dead to bring judgment. Any Vorthak who continued fighting would doom their entire family line to join the ranks of the shameful spirits. The psychological impact was immediate. Within hours, reports came in from across Vorthak space. Fleet commanders were abandoning their posts. Planetary governors were broadcasting surrender messages. Some high-ranking officers were performing ritual suicide rather than face what they believed was supernatural retribution. "The entire Vorthak military structure is collapsing," Crix reported, his voice full of amazement. "They think the humans can command the dead." Admiral Chen watched the reports flow in. After 73 years of bloody warfare, the Vorthak Empire was surrendering system by system, fleet by fleet, without a single battle. "Commander Veltar," she said to Zara, "would you like to know the secret of human warfare?" "Yes," Zara said quietly. "We've been fighting wars against ourselves for our entire history. We know every way one group of thinking beings can hurt another group. Physical weapons are just one option. Fear, shame, superstition, cultural pressure. These are often more powerful than any bomb." Dr. Webb looked up from his console. "Admiral, we're receiving a message from the Vorthak High Command." "On screen," Chen ordered. The holographic display showed a tall, gray Vorthak in elaborate ceremonial robes. He looked old and tired and afraid. "Humans," the Vorthak leader said, "we wish to discuss terms of surrender." The war room fell silent. After 73 years, the Vorthak Empire wanted to surrender. "Patch me through," Admiral Chen said. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Fleet. We're listening." The final phase of the war began when Admiral Chen's fleet reached the heart of Vorthak space. The massive capital system of Vorth Prime lay before them, defended by the largest concentration of enemy ships anyone had ever seen. 300 Vorthak warships surrounded their home planet, ready for what they thought would be the final battle of the war. But Admiral Chen had no intention of fighting them. "Dr. Webb," she said over the communications system, "are you ready?" From his position on the research ship, Dr. Webb made final adjustments to the most complex psychological warfare broadcast ever attempted. "Ready, Admiral. This is our greatest performance." Commander Zara stood on the bridge of the Alliance command ship, watching the human fleet approach the Vorthak capital. She expected to see the largest space battle in galactic history. Instead, she saw something that would haunt her dreams for the rest of her life. The human ships stopped just outside weapons range and began broadcasting. But this wasn't like their earlier messages. This broadcast appeared on every screen, every communication device, and every holographic projector in the entire Vorthak system. The image that appeared was impossible, terrifying, and perfectly convincing. It showed the Vorthak Emperor's grandfather, dead for over a century. The ancient leader stood in the ceremonial robes of his time, but something was wrong with the image. His eyes held depths that seemed to contain all the sorrow in the universe. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of ages. "My children," the ancient emperor said in perfect ceremonial Vorthak, "I speak to you from the realm of the dishonored dead." Across the Vorthak fleet, weapons powered down, shields dropped, ships that had been moving into attack formation suddenly stopped. The ancient figure continued speaking. "These humans carry the voices of all who have been shamed. They know the true names of every failure, every broken promise, every moment of dishonor in our long history." On the Alliance command ship, Intelligence Officer Crix translated frantically. "He's telling them that the humans have been chosen by the dishonored spirits to bring judgment. He's saying that anyone who continues fighting will join the ranks of the eternally shamed." The broadcast reached its peak when the ancient emperor looked directly out of the screen, as if he could see every individual Vorthak watching. "To my descendant who now leads our people," he said, "know that these humans speak with the voices of the forgotten dead. They have learned our deepest secrets, because the spirits of the dishonored have taught them. Continue this war, and your name will be carved in the stone of eternal shame alongside mine." The psychological impact was immediate and total. Across the Vorthak fleet, commanders began broadcasting surrender signals. Some ships powered down completely. Others began retreat patterns that took them away from their own home planet. But the most significant response came from the planet's surface. Emperor Vorthax V, ruler of the entire Vorthak Empire, appeared on all communication channels. "Humans," he said, his voice shaking with fear. "I am Emperor Vorthax. I command all Vorthak forces in this galaxy." Admiral Chen activated her own broadcast. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen. We hear you, Emperor. You speak with the voices of our ancestors. You know things that no living being should know. How is this possible?" Chen looked directly into the camera. "We know your grandfather's secret shame because we have spoken with his spirit. We know about your father's hidden failures because the dishonored dead have told us. We know every dark secret of your bloodline because those who came before you have chosen us to deliver their judgment. It was all a lie, of course." The humans had learned these secrets from 73 years of Alliance intelligence gathering. They knew the Emperor's family history from captured documents and intercepted communications. They had created the image of his grandfather using holographic technology and careful study of ancient recordings. But Emperor Vorthax didn't know that. From his perspective, impossible beings with supernatural knowledge were threatening to destroy his family's honor for all eternity. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "The immediate and unconditional surrender of all Vorthak forces," Admiral Chen said. "The war ends now, or your family name joins the ranks of the eternally dishonored." The silence that followed lasted exactly 97 seconds. Then Emperor Vorthax spoke the words that ended 73 years of galactic warfare. "I hereby order the complete surrender of all Vorthak military forces to the human fleet. All weapons are to be powered down. All ships are to stand down. The war is over." Commander Zara felt her legs go weak. She had to grip the edge of her console to stay standing. "It's over?" she whispered. "It's over," Admiral Chen confirmed over the communication link. "The Vorthak Empire has surrendered unconditionally." Across the galaxy, Alliance forces received the news in stunned silence. Fleets that had been locked in combat for decades suddenly found their enemies retreating or surrendering. Planets that had been under siege for years watched enemy ships simply leave their orbital positions. The war was over, and humanity had ended it without firing a single shot. Dr. Webb joined Admiral Chen on the bridge of their flagship as they prepared to return to Alliance space. Around them, Vorthak ships were broadcasting continuous surrender signals. their crews too terrified to do anything else. "Admiral," he said, "I'm receiving reports from across Vorthak space. Complete military collapse. Some commanders are requesting permission to exile themselves rather than face what they think is supernatural judgment. And the Emperor? He's asking if the humans will be satisfied with surrender, or if we plan to curse his bloodline anyway." Admiral Chen shook her head. "Tell him the spirits of the dishonored are satisfied. His cooperation has cleansed his family name." 3 days later, the human fleet returned to Alliance Fleet Command. The docking bay was packed with representatives from every member species. Commander Zara was there, along with High Counselor Mordak, Admiral Thys, and hundreds of others. As Admiral Chen walked down the boarding ramp, the entire assembly fell silent. "Admiral Chen," High Counselor Mordak said, "the Alliance Council would like an explanation." "An explanation of what?" "How you ended a 73-year war in 6 weeks. How you conquered an empire without firing a weapon. How you accomplished what we could not accomplish in nearly a century of fighting." Admiral Chen looked around at all the alien faces staring at her. "You want to know how humans fight wars?" "Yes. We don't fight the enemy's bodies," she said simply. "We fight their minds. Every species has fears, beliefs, superstitions, and cultural pressure points. Humans have been using psychological warfare against each other for thousands of years. We know how to find what someone is most afraid of and turn it into a weapon." Dr. Webb stepped forward. "The Vorthak were terrified of dishonoring their ancestors and bringing shame to their family lines. So we became their ancestors. We made them believe their own honored dead were commanding them to surrender." "But how did you know their personal secrets?" Commander Zara asked. "How did you know their family histories and private fears?" "You told us," Captain Torres said. "Every intelligence report, every captured communication, every prisoner interrogation from 73 years of war. The Alliance had collected everything we needed to understand Vorthak psychology. You just didn't know how to use it." Admiral Thys crossed his 6 arms. "This seems dishonorable." "War itself is dishonorable," Admiral Chen said. "The question is whether you want to fight honorably and lose, or fight intelligently and win." High Counselor Mordak looked at the tactical displays, showing the peaceful galaxy for the first time in decades. "The Vorthak could discover your deception. They could realize you're not actually speaking with their dead. What happens then?" Admiral Chen smiled. "By then, the surrender will be complete. The Empire will be disbanded. The war will be over. Even if they figure out we tricked them, it won't matter anymore. And if they want revenge, then we'll find new fears to use against them," Dr. Webb said calmly. "Humans are very good at that." "Ah." Commander Zara looked out the viewing port at the stars where war had raged for 73 years. Now those same stars shone peacefully on a galaxy where the impossible had happened. "Admiral Chen," she said, "I have one last question." "Yes?" "If humans are so skilled at psychological warfare, how do we know you won't use these methods against the Alliance?" Admiral Chen considered this question for a long moment. "Commander Veltar, the answer to that is very simple." "What is it?" "We're your allies, not your enemies. Humans only become dangerous when you give us a reason to be." She paused, looking around the room at all the alien representatives. "Don't give us a reason." The war was over. The galaxy was at peace, and everyone understood that humans had just become the most feared species in known space. Not because of their weapons or technology, but because they understood something no one else had mastered. They understood fear itself, and they knew how to use it.